gun control. Let's talk about it.
Blocked a California law that would have banned carrying firearms in public places. The law was due to take effect January 1st. It would have prohibited people from carrying concealed guns in 26 mostly public places. That includes parks and playgrounds, churches, banks, and zoos. A U.S. District Court judge granted a preliminary injunction blocking the law, calling it sweeping, repugnant to the Second Amendment, and openly defiant of the Supreme Court. Well, Governor Gavin Newsom issued a statement about that, saying in part, what is repugnant is the ruling, which green lights the proliferation of guns in our hospitals, libraries, and children's playgrounds, spaces which should be safe for all. California will keep fighting to defend our laws and to enshrine a right to safety in the Constitution. The lives of our children depend on it.
This is not a political post, but what I will say is this. I was not somebody that was familiar with guns before I became a police officer. I didn't own any guns. Now, obviously, I own a few guns, carry guns, all the other stuff. So what's the significance about this ruling that the federal judge just blocked? Well, if this would have went into effect, everybody that's a responsible gun owner that has a license to carry concealed wouldn't have been able to carry their gun in many open public places. And so on the surface level, it seems like, oh man, like, yeah, we want to make safer places. And so if we could just get rid of all the guns, man, this will be perfect. But the reality is this. Let's just say they did pass that and all the responsible people stopped carrying guns because they couldn't, because it's law. Do you think that criminals would stop carrying guns in these places? You see, as a police officer for over 10 years, most of the crimes that were committed with a gun were by people that weren't supposed to have a gun. So do you think that if they were to pass a law like this, that all the criminals would stop carrying guns? Like, that's a legitimate question that we have to ask ourselves. And the answer to that is no. They're going to keep owning guns, or they're going to keep carrying guns and these ghost guns because they don't care about the laws, right? So who's it going to affect? It's only going to affect the responsible people. But you might think, oh, okay, well, I don't carry guns anyway, so it doesn't really affect me or impact me anyways. You're wrong. Let's just imagine you're in a public place and there's an active shooter. And now there's nobody that can responsibly carry a gun. And so you dial 911 the first moment you hear that first gunshot go off. Well, the national average for response to 911 calls is around 6 to 7 minutes is the actual response time for law enforcement. Now, are you willing to try to survive for 6 to 7 minutes on your own, hoping that law enforcement will get there in time and you can survive? Or would you rather have some responsible gun owners present at your location that could potentially stop that threat, or at least put some type of resistance in between you and that threat that gives law enforcement that time to get there, and now it helps you survive a little bit longer? So for me and my family, if I'm in a public place and an active shooter happens, I would actually hope that there's somebody there that can potentially cause some resistance for this shooter, so that way I can help me and my family survive until law enforcement arrives on scene. We need responsible people to own guns, so that way they can combat the people that are not going to be responsible and still going to get guns regardless of whatever laws are in place. Like, that is the true reality of what we're dealing with here. If we can sit here and say right now that, hey, if we pass this law, then nobody would have guns on the streets, then maybe I say, oh, okay, cool, let's talk about it. But that's not the reality. And so the reason why the federal judge shut this down is because it is in complete opposition to the Second Amendment, which gives us the right to bear arms. But who should bear arms? Only responsible people that are willing to go through all the channels it takes in order to carry that firearm. What do you guys think below in the comment section? Because this is a huge topic, and the solution to it is making sure people that own these guns are responsible.